Have you ever wondered how the Israel-Palestine conflict, one of the most enduring and controversial of modern times, began? Our journey takes us back to the late 19th and early 20th centuries, in the heart of the Middle East. Picture this. The Ottoman Empire is in control, and the land we now know as Israel and Palestine is a blend of various ethnicities and religions. Enter Zionism, a movement advocating for a homeland for Jews in response to widespread anti-Semitism. At the same time, Arab nationalism begins to stir, fueled by a growing desire for independence from colonial rule. These two movements, on a collision course, set the stage for a complex and enduring conflict. Fast forward to the end of World War I. The Ottoman Empire crumbles, and the British Empire swoops in, taking control under the auspices of a League of Nations mandate. The British promised to create a national home for the Jewish people in the 1917 Balfour Declaration, while simultaneously assuring the Arabs that they too would receive independence. A classic case of double-dealing that sowed the seeds for an escalating conflict. The interwar years see a significant increase in Jewish immigration, spurred by the horrors of the Holocaust. This influx stokes tensions between the Jewish immigrants and the Arab locals, leading to outbreaks of violence. The British, struggling to maintain control, passed the problem onto the newly formed United Nations. In 1947, the UN proposes a partition plan, proposing separate Jewish and Arab states with Jerusalem under international control. The Jewish Agency accepts the plan, but it's rejected by the Arab states and Palestinian leaders. As the British mandate ends in 1948, the Jews declare the establishment of the State of Israel. The year 1948 marks a significant turning point in this issue with the establishment of the State of Israel. This moment, celebrated by some and mourned by others, ignites a conflict that has lasted for more than 7 decades and remains unresolved to this day. How did the establishment of Israel shape the path of this conflict? One cannot fully comprehend the current status of the Israel-Palestine conflict without delving into the historical events that led to the establishment of Israel. It's a story that begins in the wake of World War II with the 1947 United Nations Partition Plan. This plan proposed the division of British-controlled Palestine into 2 separate states, one Jewish and one Arab, with Jerusalem under international administration. The plan was approved by the United Nations General Assembly, but it was met with rejection by the Palestinian Arabs and the Arab League. This rejection led to civil unrest and eventually escalated into a full-scale conflict, commonly referred to as the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. This was a defining war, not just for the newly established State of Israel, but for the entire region. Israel emerged victorious, securing more territory than initially proposed in the UN partition plan. This victory, however, came at a significant human cost. The war resulted in a displacement of Palestinian Arab populations, an event known as the Nakba, or catastrophe in Arabic. The Nakba saw an estimated 700,000 Palestinian Arabs fleeing or being expelled from their homes. These displaced people ended up in refugee camps in neighboring Arab countries, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Their displacement became a major source of tension and resentment, one that continues to fuel the conflict to this day. In the aftermath of the 1948 war, Israel solidified its existence as a sovereign state, but the borders drawn in the sand were far from settled. The Arab nations refused to recognize Israel, and the displaced Palestinian Arabs longed for a return to their homes. The establishment of Israel, therefore, did not just give birth to a new nation, it also gave birth to a new conflict, one that has proven to be incredibly resilient and complex. The aftermath of the 1948 war set the stage for future tensions and conflicts. What were the major events that further escalated the Israel-Palestine conflict in the decades that followed? Let's take a trip through time, starting in the year 1967. This year marked the Six-Day War, a brief yet impactful conflict. Israel, anticipating an attack from neighboring Arab states, launched preemptive strikes against Egypt and Syria. Within 6 days, Israel had not only successfully defended its territory, but had also seized the Gaza Strip and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and the Golan Heights from Syria. This significant shift in territorial control led to another major conflict, the Yom Kippur War of 1973. Egypt and Syria, seeking to reclaim their lost territories, launched a surprise attack on Israel during Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar. Despite initial setbacks, Israel managed to push back the attacking forces, leading to a military stalemate. Fast forward to the late 80s, the First Intifada erupted. This was a Palestinian uprising against Israeli occupation in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. A combination of civil disobedience, general strikes, boycotts, and violent confrontations. It was a stark reminder of the ongoing tensions and the desperate need for a solution. This brings us to 1993 and the signing of the Oslo Accords. Against a backdrop of decades-long conflict, Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization, or the PLO, agreed to recognize each other. The Accords proposed a 5-year interim period of Palestinian self-rule in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, with the ultimate aim of reaching a comprehensive peace agreement. Despite the optimism surrounding the agreement, it was met with significant opposition from both Israeli and Palestinian communities, highlighting the deep-seated and complex nature of the conflict. The Oslo Accords marked a hopeful yet contentious step towards peace. Why has the path to peace been so fraught with challenges? This is a question that haunts the minds of many who seek to understand the Israel-Palestine conflict. To answer it, we must delve into the key roadblocks that have obstructed the journey towards resolution. One of the most contentious issues is the status of Jerusalem. Both Israelis and Palestinians claim the city as their capital. For the Jewish people, Jerusalem is seen as their ancestral and spiritual home. Palestinians, on the other hand, view East Jerusalem as the capital of a future Palestinian state. This dispute over the city's sovereignty has been a significant stumbling block in peace negotiations. Then, there are the Israeli settlements. These are communities established by Israel on lands occupied during the Six-Day War of 1967. The international community views them as illegal, while Israel defends them as a security measure. The expansion of these settlements into Palestinian territories not only exacerbates tensions but also diminishes the land available for a potential Palestinian state. Let's not forget the plight of Palestinian refugees. In the wake of the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their homes. Today, their descendants number in the millions. The right of these refugees to return to their homes, a right insisted upon by Palestinians, is another point of contention, as it could potentially disrupt the demographic balance of the Jewish state. Finally, security concerns play a crucial role. Israel fears that a fully sovereign Palestine could become a launching pad for attacks against it. Palestinians, conversely, argue that Israeli military control and restrictions infringe upon their rights and freedoms. So you see, the road to peace is not just a path, but a labyrinth. The status of Jerusalem, Israeli settlements, Palestinian refugees, and security concerns, these are not just roadblocks, but mountains that both sides must find a way to navigate. These issues continue to fuel the conflict and impede progress towards a peaceful resolution. Where do we stand today in the Israel-Palestine conflict? As we navigate through the 21st century, the conflict between Israel and Palestine remains as complex as ever. Recent years have been marked by sporadic violent eruptions, political instability, and a seemingly unbridgeable divide over key issues such as borders, refugees, and the status of Jerusalem. In particular, the past decade has seen a surge in settlement construction in the West Bank, causing tension to escalate. The situation in Gaza remains precarious, with humanitarian crises and intermittent bouts of warfare. On the political front, the lack of unity among Palestinian factions and the political stalemate in Israel add another layer of complexity to the conflict. International efforts for peace have been met with skepticism, given the deep-seated mistrust between the two sides. Yet there is an undercurrent of resilience among the people, a determination to keep striving for peace. Despite the numerous hurdles, the hope for a peaceful resolution persists. To understand the present, we must often look to the past. We've journeyed through the genesis of the Israel-Palestine conflict, witnessed the birth of a nation and the inception of conflict, navigated pivotal moments like the Six-Day War and Oslo Accords, and explored the roadblocks to peace. We've also taken a sobering look at the current state of the conflict. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a complex issue with deep historical roots. Understanding this history is a crucial step towards fostering dialogue, empathy, and ultimately peace.